Hello and welcome to Ask Bansi. It's great to have you here. Today we are going to have a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday concerning strokes. So to start with, what is a stroke? It's simple. A stroke occurs when a part of the brain is deprived of oxygen and the cells around that place die or they cease to function. Basically, there are two types of strokes. One, we have the ischemic stroke, which occurs when there is a blockage in a blood vessel in the brain. And so when there is that blockage, oxygenated blood is unable to reach a part of the brain cells, and that causes that part of the brain cells to die, in which case the person will suffer from a stroke. Number two, we have the hemorrhagic stroke. This happens when some of the blood vessels in the brain rupture, or when there is a rupture of a blood vessel inside the brain and then blood spills into the brain. And when that happens, some parts of the brain will lose oxygen supply and then they can die or they will cease to function, in which case the person can get a stroke. There is, however, a third type that is called TIA, or transient ischemic attack, and this is what sometimes is referred to as a mild stroke or a partial stroke. These are the three types. But it's also important to note that ischemic strokes make up 90% of all strokes, whereby only 10% are hemorrhagic strokes. According to Mayo Clinic, two conditions account for ischemic strokes. Number one is when you have fatty deposits built up within the blood vessels inside your brain. And number two, blood clots and other debris that travel through the blood vessels sometimes can get lodged within the blood vessels, and then they will prevent oxygenated blood from reaching certain cells inside the brain. Now, when this blockade comes about, part of the brain that is deprived of oxygen begins to die. And when they die, there is a reflection on the outside of your body. So if the part of your brain that is in charge of your speech gets affected, then you will not be able to speak. And that is why some stroke patients are not able to speak, are not able to manage their speech very well. If the part of your brain in charge of your right hand is the part that is deprived of oxygen and the cells there die, then you will not be able to have use of your right hand. If it is your leg, the same thing happens. And the same thing happens in severe cases where the person suffers from complete paralysis, which means that the part of the brain that is in charge of the use of the limbs, your two hands or your two legs, is affected, then you will not be able to use them. This is how ischemic strokes occur, and all other strokes, in fact, that is what they do. Because when the part of the brain is deprived of oxygen, it will die. And when it happens, then you will not be able to use parts of your body that would have been controlled by that part of the brain. Now, let's get back to ischemic strokes. We have already mentioned that they happen when the fatty deposits within the blood vessels block the vessel and oxygenated blood does not come through. Now, the question to ask is, why do we have these fatty deposits within the blood vessels? Why do they build up? They build up basically because of inflammation within the blood vessels. And strokes do not happen overnight. They do not happen in a day. Strokes take a very long time to develop. So the eating habits, your lifestyle over a number of years accounts for the build-up in these fatty deposits that we are talking about. When there is an inflammation inside the blood vessel, consider a pipe where water is supposed to pass through. Now, when you let other things, other debris, other things pass through the tube, this delicate tube, and it rubs on the surface or the internal part of the tube, there is a breakage, or there is an injury, or in this case, there is an inflammation. And when that inflammation comes about, the body has to repair itself. And the only thing the body uses to repair inflammation within blood vessels is to use fat fatty deposits. And so when there is an inflammation, the body releases fatty deposits to go and patch up that inflammation. When there is a second one, it patches it. It continues patching it until there is no space left for blood, for oxygenated blood to pass through to reach the brain cells. And the vessels inside the brain are very delicate. They are very, very delicate vessels. And so they need to be patched repeatedly so long as there is an inflammation. And so the body continues patching up this inflammation until it finally gets blocked and blood is unable to pass through the vessels to reach the cells that are in dire need of oxygen. A similar thing happens when there is a hemorrhagic stroke. During a hemorrhagic stroke, when this blockage happens, mind you, the brain cells or the blood vessels that supply oxygenated blood to the brain are close to the heart compared to the blood vessels that supply blood to your feet, for instance. And so there is a higher pressure against gravity to be able to pump blood from the heart to reach the brains. And so when there is a blockage or there is a narrowing of the blood vessels inside the brain, what is going to happen is that sometimes in 10% of the cases, these blood vessels rupture, they break, and blood is spilled into parts of the brain where it is not supposed to be. And then it will cause the hemorrhagic stroke. For the third type of stroke that we mentioned, the transient ischemic attack, this type of stroke can last between 5 minutes to a day to a week or a month. Most people who suffer from transient ischemic attack are able to recover completely. However, when they continue living the lifestyle that brought them this TIA, they are likely to get a full swing stroke. How do you determine that a person has got stroke? Definitely when someone suffers from a stroke, when someone passes out, or when someone fails to be able to use certain parts of the body, we need to have a professional, a medical practitioner diagnose stroke. But one way to tell is that you can ask the person to smile. And when the person smiles, you see that part of the face begins to droop. And then you will realize that the person has got a stroke. Or the person may not be able to use certain parts of their bodies. They may not be able to speak. They may not be able to lift their hands, either both hands, one hand and one leg, half of the body may not work, etc. These are ways to tell that a person has stroke. We can conclude, based on what the experts are telling us, that the only thing that causes a blockage of the blood vessels, or the only thing that causes the blood vessels to rupture, is as a result of the fat deposits within the blood vessels. Now, the fat deposits within the blood vessel do not just happen by accident. They happen to repair a problem. And what is this problem? They happen because there are other debris, other harmful substances that are passing through the bloodstream and are causing this inflammation. And enough research has determined that a bad diet or a bad lifestyle accounts for this particular inflammation within the blood vessels. Key among the things that cause inflammation within the blood vessels is the consumption of animal products, high consumption of animal products and junk food and toxins that we consume alongside food. These things are very harmful to the blood vessels inside the brain, and they cause inflammation. And when this inflammation happens, the body is forced to patch them up. And in the process of patching it up, a person can suffer from stroke. So the best way to avoid strokes is to avoid animal products completely. The first thing you do is to avoid all of those foods that gave you the stroke in the first place. Because I have seen a lot of people who suffer from stroke and their family continue to feed them with the same food that made them sick. A person who is suffering from stroke does not need fish, does not need meat, does not need eggs, does not need milk. Likewise, a person who has not yet got stroke, if you are an adult, every human being, you do not need meat to get your proteins. You don't need fish, you don't need eggs, you don't need all of these animal products. And so if a person has suffered from stroke, stop feeding the person with this poisonous food. What you need to do is to help the person detoxify. And if you have been diagnosed with a condition that is likely leading you to stroke, then you should also listen to this part. You need to stop consuming all of the foods that brought you to this place. And you need to start eating all of the foods that will help you to detoxify your system. All of the foods that will reduce the fatty deposits within your blood vessels. You need to eat all of the foods that will remove the debris and the toxins that cause the inflammation inside the blood vessels within your brain. And these are nothing but a plant-based diet. You need to increase your consumption of fresh vegetables and fruits. These are life-giving foods. These are foods that are going to help detoxify your body. These are foods that is going to remove the toxic chemicals and toxins and the poisonous substances you've consumed from your body. They're going to take it out of your body. So if a person suffers from stroke, we should do well to increase the plant-based diet or put the person solely on plant-based diet. Numerous research have shown that when a person goes 100% plant-based, it helps the person to get some relief from stroke. I have seen people continue to give stroke patients milk. I've seen people who even blend meat, fish, and mix it with their food for them. This is only going to worsen their situation because it is these same foods that made the people sick in the first place. Give the people food that will rejuvenate their body. High energy giving foods. And these are what? Fruits, green vegetables. These are the foods that will supply them with high amounts of the nutrients that their body needs to remain strong and active. And people also need to fast intermittently. Stroke patients also need to fast intermittently. This is going to help reduce some of the fatty deposits within the blood vessels and give a high or a better blood flow within the blood vessels inside the brain. Make sure you consult your doctor before you apply any of the techniques I have shared with you today. Thank you.